Hi, everyone. Recently, I put out a call on Facebook asking if anyone had extraordinary experiences that they were willing to share. I'm mostly talking about meaningful experiences that are seemingly inexplicable, those that venture far outside of what we know to be so-called truth in the West, like out-of-body or near-death experiences, encounters with the more than human world, missing time, precognition, and so on. The reason I've started this series is to show just how common these experiences are. In the West, we pathologize them and we load people up on debilitating medications, or we institutionalize them when they share these experiences with their physician, their psychiatrist, and sometimes their psychologist. Yet these experiences are ubiquitous and ancient. My only agenda here, if I have one, is to normalize these experiences because they're often nature's way of healing trauma, and they force you to go within. My first guest found me through the call on Facebook. I'd never met her until this time. Her name is Brig Brown. She was born, reared, and educated in Germany, and she currently lives in the southeastern United States. She experienced profound trauma through sex abuse and psychological warfare that started as a toddler. Brig attempted to take her life on 6 different occasions, but has since fully recovered, and she's been transformed by her experiences, both the traumatic and the extraordinary. I recorded this a few weeks ago. I only ask that you listen without judgment. It's her story from her perspective, and it's quite extraordinary. Brig, thank you so much for joining me on this exploration of extraordinary experiences. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, I'm so grateful that you have agreed to do this with me. You're my first guest. So you sent me your story, and it is an intense, powerful story. You have had a variety of extraordinary experiences throughout your life. And so I thought we would talk about them. So
Well, actually, I have extraordinary experiences every day now in my life. Just living makes it extraordinary.
So they become normal, right?
No, there is no norm in my life. No, every day it's like a new birth, a new day, a new experience. Everything it's new. I don't go from one day to the next.
Okay, very good. Okay, so do you have specific incidences from your childhood that you would like to reference now, or moving on into later into adult life?
Well, I think the childhood stories we can leave behind because I don't think it'll serve many people. I know that many people experience sexual abuse, but it is a very individual story always. You cannot hop from one and say she experienced this, then I should feel this or so. So I would say let's just start a little bit later in life.
Okay. The first thing that comes to mind is, I believe you had a near-death and or out-of-body experience during surgery. So maybe we can start with that.
Actually, it was not doing surgery. It was doing a suicide attempt.
Oh, even better. So
it was
let's talk about it.
Attempt. Yes, emotional pain is gruesome. It's loud, it's overwhelming, it's something you feel like you cannot tackle because when you experience emotional pain, you have no more power. And I learned that you don't have to experience emotional pain. But anyway, that was later. It was, I would say, my 5th attempt on taking my life. And I was in a motel room and lost someone who claimed to love me. He just disappeared in the mall, just walked out on the other end, and I had no clue. I was sitting around there for 8 hours. So I felt totally undesirable and I didn't have respect much for myself at that time, obviously. So I felt disrespected by others now too. And so anyway, it got me to the point where I didn't see anything in front of me. I could not see a life for myself. because I tried so hard for so many years to make a life, but I carried around all my shame and blame from the past, and all the injuries, emotional injuries from the past constantly. And I destroyed every relationship, and it was totally me. I destroyed every relationship, no trust. I did not wanted to engage in any physical and sexual activities much, because it just was a flashback and PTSD from childhood abuse. And so I destroyed it. I felt not worthy because I couldn't provide what a man wanted me to, and at least not honestly. So I did give sex for hugs afterwards, because during the hugs I pretended that I was protected, I was embraced, whether it was
Right.
true or not, but that's what I suggested to myself. So that night I had from my partner, who disappeared and who was on a variety on medications, mostly Prozac and Xanax and what have you. And I swallowed 90 of those pills.
Of all of his
All of the pills.
his
He's no
pills.
longer there. I just, I did it very consciously, not I planned it out. I made a recording, a tape, cassette tape was then for my son, so he understands where my mind was when I left. And but the door, I was not locked. And the funny thing, it was in the motel. The man who was next door, he came home drunk, and he took the wrong door. He took my door. Actually, no, I know it was the right door, but for him it was not. And so he found me, and he found the letter, and it was very obvious what was happening. So he called 911. And I don't remember any of this. I was totally gone, and I was on the gurney, and they had giving me defibrillation, so to restart my heart. I had no pulse, nothing. And I watched it. I finally found myself watching the people working on me. The fireman begged me and said, "You're so young, you're pretty, just don't leave, it's you can find a good life." And he just kept on talking to me and working on me. And suddenly I found myself at my mother's place. My mother was alive still then. And it was in Germany, it was actually nighttime. And she left the light in the kitchen on, which she usually never does. And but I noticed that, and I saw her sleeping, and I just left and found myself all of a sudden surrounded by light energies. It was tons of them. But they all felt familiar. They all felt like really familiar, and I felt very, very light and good and happy there. And I felt like I was home. It was everything I was looking for all my life was home, which I didn't understand what it was, because I never really experienced that, but that was a feeling I was looking for. It was home. But I was told instantly, "You're not staying," because obviously those energy figured out what was on my mind very quickly, because it was a communication without words, but a lot of words at the same time. And the light was not something like you turn on or have LED or anything. It's a light you can actually not describe. It's just a light in your mind. It's not something out there visible with your eyes, really. Everything is just in your mind, and your mind becomes this whole thing. Everything around me was all my mind. And so I was told not that I had to go back, that it was not my time. I have not fulfilled my contract. And I didn't get that right away. with the contract because everything was so exciting. I just wanted to stay and I wanted to ask questions. And so they allowed me to ask questions. They say you can ask whatever you want, but you still have to go back and fulfill your contract. And the contract came up over and over again. And I didn't want it to have anything to do with the contract. I just wanted to ask my questions. My questions, what am I doing here? Why am I here? And they came again, because you have a contract. and I still didn't get it then. And I asked the same questions over and I said, so how long do I have to stay here? And they say, you come home when you, in human life, 96.
Wait,
And
what?
96, age 96.
Oh,
I know this that's why I have no fears of death or whatever, or sickness, because I know I'm going to be
that you'll be
96
alive
in good
until
health,
96.
in good health,
Yeah.
in good health. And because in good health, because I take charge of my health. I take charge of my life. And that was told to me, you have to take charge of your life.
Up until that point, you had not?
Not
You thought
really.
you were?
I was pretending to all the time because, but taking charge of your life did not mean, and that's what I thought first, what it means is like financially and around me, the people around me and all this. But it had nothing to do, take charge of my life. They explained to me that I have to take charge of my contract. That's my life.
Did they give you clarity about what
Yes.
the contract was beyond?
Yes.
Okay.
Not directly, but they said that I have made this contract willingly. You have agreed. You have chosen this contract. And when you stop working on this contract, when you just disregard this contract, you will have to live it again. And that was my awakening moment. I did not want to live all this, what I had up to then, again, ever again, ever. It was just so horrific at that time that I could not stand it. Well, when I came back, it was just very sudden. There were more questions I had asked, and a lot of them I came back 2 years after. It did not function like a light switch and all of a sudden, dang, here I am awakened and everything is cool. It took me years of hard work after this. However, I got the drive never to experience anything like this again. From there to work on myself, and I got so passionate about it. When I came out of the hospital, I was there 3 days in a coma, before
Wow.
I got back. And I went to the fire station, and I went to the guy who was telling me to please come back, who was working on me. And I went to him and I said, I wanted to thank you. I know you did your best, you talked to me all the time. And he went so pale all of a sudden. He said, how did you know? Who told you? I said, I was there.
You saw him.
Yes. So that was, I guess, a shock for him too, but it's all part of every step we're going is connected to something, to someone, to somehow,
So back up just a bit to the actual experience when it happened. You said you saw. So you feel like your consciousness left your body, and were you looking down at yourself and at these people? How did that work?
Yeah, I did not feel myself or anything. I just saw from up there. I saw myself laying there, and I actually they had forgotten to move my foot from the metal of the gurney, and my heel was burned off from the defibrillator. And
What?
I had to, yeah, I had to grow a new heel. I have since then had a lot of problems on my heel, and it
So
will.
your foot was touching the metal part of the girl. Oh dear God. So when you were
All the
defibrillated,
voltage went through me,
oh,
burnt my heel. You know, it was black, and
wow.
then you could peel it off after a while. It was really god awful.
Oh
but
my.
but it is a reminder. I still feel this, and it's a reminder for me, when I feel it, to look at myself instantly to see, what did I miss? Did I not respect myself? Did I not take care of myself? Or did I do anything I should not have done? So it
So
comes
you're saying
instantly.
that happens when you feel your heel hurting you, then you take this as,
Instantly.
okay, this is
Yeah.
something I need to address now. There's something within me that I need to address. And then once you address it, does the pain go away?
Well, yeah, mostly, mostly it goes away. But also, I know then that I should have just to sit still for a while and not move around and just let the body do its work. That's why I use the grounding mat. It makes
Right,
such a difference.
right. Wow. This is an extraordinary story, Brig. Um,
But
was it at all frightening for you to be out of your body and to be looking down? What do you recall your emotional state in that time?
it felt kind of natural. I did
Ah,
not even think of, wow, I'm up here or so. Nothing. It just felt kind of natural, because to me, I was gone. So I thought, this is it. I'm relieved from all this earthly pain. I don't have to go back. So that I felt a kind of a joy inside me. So that's why I just left it when he was working on me. I visit my mother a short time. Oh, by the way, I did call her when after I was awake, and I said, I was there that night, you left the light on and in the kitchen, and she was totally floored. How could you know that? I said I was there.
wow.
So, that there's this instant, there was actually no distances or any. It was like everything was just like here and there. You just do this, and there you are. It's the mind brings you to wherever the mind is.
So it's interesting to me. It's really noteworthy, given your background, given all that you experienced at the hands of your mom and your father. I'm curious if you have do you have any idea why, of all the places you could have ended up while you were having this out of body experience, why you ended up back at your parents' home?
Well, my father was gone. He was dead. He transitioned several years prior to that, and my mom, he on his deathbed told me always, you have to take care of your mother because she doesn't have friends.
Mm.
And it is an innate thing. I always took care of her to the last breath. I always did whatever I could, and it was just part of it. I checked on her, and that was it.
Ah,
That was,
interesting.
yeah. I had this very deep ingrained feeling of responsibility all my life, until I learned that I am indeed responsible for every experience I have had and I have, because experience is a feeling. It's not what they did I'm responsible, but what I experience I am.
What I said at the beginning of this video was that these experiences are nature's way of healing traumas. After your experiences with that, would you agree?
Oh, it took years before the traumas were healed. This was just an awakening to have passion for my life. And
Mhm.
I have started practicing, learning about a dozen of meditations. I went to the medicine wheel, Wiccan I studied. I mean, the works, the books I read, it was just a lot. And I spent every penny I had on courses and whatever, because I was so eager to get rid of all this schmutz inside me. I don't know
Yeah.
how to say it differently. It's a very Jewish word, but it doesn't matter. It's a German word, the dirt I felt inside me, because I felt there was so much that had to come out. And that's not a physical thing.
Right.
It's
Right.
just a mindset. And so I had to learn, and I had to, through so many practices, until I actually got to one book, a book I found. This book was, to me, a total awakening of showing the way what to do and assuming responsibility for everything.
Do you mind saying what the book was?
That was the Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I have read this book so many times I cannot count anymore. But I also given it away about 500 times in San Francisco to the homeless community on the streets. So you could see the people sitting on the streets and reading the Four Agreements. I just had the hope, if it was so profound to me, someone else may feel something similar.
Right.
It was the best guidelines, and I still recommend it to anybody to read this who need guidelines to themselves.
Mhm.
And
Yes.
that is, it really took years and lots of ups and downs, and I did practice, like I took ayahuasca, because the emotional pain still was so strong at times that I even wanted to consider to have electroshock therapy to forget, because I asked myself always, how can I forget? How can I forget all this? And the thing is that I didn't need to forget it. I just need to accept it.
Mm.
I need to accept it not as a punishment or as anything you can see what's not good. I just need to accept it as a human life experiences and distance myself and take it not personally. And that's the Four Agreements. The second agreement is don't take anything personally.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I think this book is a very important book. He has written several other books afterwards, and I read them, but nothing has made that impact ever again. So everybody, I think, has a different frequency of understanding. Okay.
I just want to offer a little bit of clarity when I said that these experiences are nature's way of healing trauma. I think what I really mean to say is it kind of kicks the door open for you and says, here's your thing you got to deal with, and I'm going to help you work through it. So I don't mean it as if to say, oh, anybody that has an out-of-body experience or near-death experience is automatically an awakened person, or how all their traumas are gone. It doesn't work like that. It's a tool. It's an opportunity to address these things.
Well, Stephanie, I think for some people it may work like that. We all are so different. There is not one like me ever again, except me again in different forms. But there is just nobody who can say, if you do this, then you experience this. And a lot of gurus do that. They say, follow me and you get bliss. It's not working like this. Everybody has to figure out their individual path, and that's our contract. We know it all. We forget it all. It's just a game, So figure it out. I have chosen a very difficult game to play, and so I participated in all these. not, you can say I was a child, not willingly, but before I was a child, I agreed to that, because in that realm, it has no judgments. There is no judge, it's just an experience. Some experience you enjoy or you don't enjoy, you feel upset about or you don't. It's just, that is where your responsibility comes in, what you need to learn to understand that every experience, you can choose how you feel, how you experience it.
Brig, you grew up in a Christian household, relatively speaking, right? Not Christian. I thought you
Not
went to
really.
church.
I mean, I was baptized and I had confirmation, but it was just the way it went. My parents went to church on Christmas Eve because there was a thing going on, and my father usually fell asleep there or twirled his thumb. No, I wouldn't say there was not much religion there in our household, but I went to confirmation classes and all that. Yeah.
So what I'm actually getting at here is I'm wondering how much of your, I don't want to say religious upbringing, but how much of your upbringing or what you knew about your experiences of reality or life, did it conflict with your near-death out-of-body experience? Did you struggle in that way, or was that an easy thing to let go of?
No, it was not easy to let go of at all. I have to understand that I could let it go, because first I always thought, how on earth can I let this go? How can I ever get this out of my brain or whatever? The thing is, it took still a long time before I grasped that and figured it out. Actually, I had several other experiences afterwards. And if you don't mind, I'm going backwards a little bit.
That's okay.
When my father passed away, I had my first visual and spiritual encounter, you could say.
Okay.
I was with him when he died, and I was the only one who was with him all the time. And I'm not going into details. He was getting really small. He had a stomach cancer, and it was kind of very hard, his death. And I helped him, as I was a nurse, so I took care of him. I helped him with the medication he needed and the amount he needed it to be safe and to pass over safely. I was not very knowledgeable in afterlife or whatever, nothing. I was not aware of any of this. But I sat with my father, and he asked me to give him some morphine. First of all, he was there totally not, he didn't speak, he was not approachable, nothing. He just were kind of laying there and was not conscious, you could say.
He asked you for what, did you say?
And he asked me to give him more morphine.
Morphine.
All of
Okay.
a sudden, he opened his eyes very wide. He looked at me, straight at me, and say, I want to have some morphine now, and we had an agreement before that. And so he closed his eyes again, and all of a sudden he looked again, he looked to the end, at the door, and said very clearly, not now. And I looked at the door because I thought maybe my mom was there or whatever, I looked at the door and I couldn't see anything, but I could feel something. I cannot explain that feeling. It was very, very dominant. And so after a while, after I gave him the morphine, I mean, it was so much, he should have been transitioning almost instantly, but it took about another 10 minutes or so, and he sat up in bed, which he could not have done for a month. By himself,
Wow.
sat straight up, he took his ring off his finger, put it in my hand, say, take care of your mother, she doesn't have friends. And he looked at the end of his bed and said, now, went back, gone.
Wow. Wow, that's powerful.
that was on, I saw him another time on his coffin. My father was not religious, as I said, but my mother liked to make things, big things out of things. She had practiced being a widow for a long time before he was gone, getting the people to feel sorry for her and all that. She needed that, and it is just who she was at this time. That was her experience. I see her differently now than then. And so she made a big production out of it and had colleagues there who my father despised, talking about my father there at the wake. So I had my fingernails put so in my hands because I was so upset about this. And it was started bleeding there, and all of a sudden I saw my father sitting on the coffin flipping the bird. It helped me.
That's a great experience.
Yes, that's serious. It helped me so much,
I love it.
Yes, he had a great sense of humor, I have to say. When he was around people, people liked to have him around. My mother just didn't want to share him. So anyway, those were the leading up experiences. As a nurse, I recall a lot of experience which I recalled much later in life because I just wasn't there. The window wasn't open, so I couldn't see. It was just, so my mind said it was not in the afterlife. I was experiencing getting lost and forgetting more and more and more of our originality and focusing on the pain and the suffering, and that was leading my life. And then I learned later on that I don't need to suffer ever again.
So you're saying that your background, all the baggage that came with it, the emotional trauma, the physical trauma, the mental trauma, the spiritual trauma, all of that was governing your life. And then when this stuff happened to you, you realized that's what you were doing, and that's not a life.
It was pointing out the way to go. And when I went wrong, I had to start over again. It was not something where I was just pardoned or I pardoned myself. It was something. And in the end, Stephanie, in the end, it was just one single thing I needed to know to let everything go. One single thing. But if I had this single thing in childhood, I would not have gotten it. You understand? I would not understood it, because this is when a few years ago, I was still working hard on myself a few years ago. And I shared my story with someone who had asked me about my past. And it was a man, and it was very reluctant because of the story and because of how I felt about all this. But I wanted to step outside, and he responded within hours. He read that, and within hours he responded. He said, "I am in awe. You are a hero. How can you live like you do and share like you do, living through all this?" And that was a click. That was a click. I'm a hero, so I don't have to see this as shame and blame and as ballast. Yay. This made me who I am today. And now I have nothing from the past anymore. Of course, some behaviors will always be in there. Like, I'm still kind of a recluse. I don't like big gatherings. I'm very particular who I hang out with. I cannot watch TV, with normal TV, with all those advertisement. I can't. It's just very disturbing to me. So a lot of things have changed in my life, but for the better. You've seen my garden. You can see my soul in my garden.
You can. You sent me a couple of videos of your garden, and it's peaceful, happy. It just looks like a very pleasant place to be. I'm glad you got to do that.
Yeah.
I'm curious, have you ever read Or are you familiar with the book called Proof of Heaven by Dr. Eben Alexander?
No, I have to say I'm not. Um, there is I wrote a book. Okay.
Oh, you did?
Yes, hold on a second, just 1 second.
Okay.
I wrote a book. Can you see
Who's
it?
God anyway? Yes. Yes. Okay.
Yeah. It's a book for people age 7 to 8 to 80. So I would say it's
Okay.
ideal there. And I'm very dyslexic, so I pushed myself all my life to do something to be normal, sort of, so to get this over. So writing was something I made myself, and I loved writing. The problem was just I did not have spell check like we have now. So right now it's so much nicer,
Yeah.
Yes. So I, at the end, after the 4 agreements, I stopped reading many books because I found them all the same.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Well, go
And
ahead.
a lot of books were very much ego loaded,
Sure.
and so I could not get anything out of those books. And what would better my life, because my life is amazing,
Yeah.
it's see, I live minimalistic. I live off $950 a month.
Wow. That's
With
impressive that you can do that in this country still.
it's I live, I get $950 a month. I pay $900 to pay down my debt because I created my living environment from nothing.
Beautiful.
So I don't feel burdened by that. If I had one wish in life, I wish that I have somebody who can give me a $20,000 loan, which I can pay back with $400. Then I at least have $500 to live on.
Right. Right.
Right now, I go to food banks every Friday to get my food.
Do you?
Yeah.
I'm glad that that's available to you.
Oh man, it's so beautiful. And I can share with the neighborhood here. There are people who can't get out, So there's an old man in a shack across the road, and he never gets out. And I always share whatever I have there with him. I share with my kids. I share with a couple on the farm. It's fun. I like it. I like it a lot. I think this is a beautiful thing that this is available and that I can do that.
It is
I don't
beautiful.
judge personally.
Mm-hmm.
I feel that I am the wealthiest person I know. I just don't.
I love it. Yeah, yeah. No money, but super wealthy.
Yeah.
Well, I wanted to tell you about this book. So it is called Proof of Heaven, and it's written by, he was a neurosurgeon. His name is Eben Alexander. He did, he was a neurosurgeon. He worked on a lot of patients who were epileptic, who needed various brain surgeries. And over and over and over again, his patients would come back and say, I left my body, or I had this really bizarre experience and I don't even know where I was. And so he just assumed, as most physicians do in the West, and even people, that this is just something that the brain does when you thinks it's going to die. It'll just, I don't know what terminology he would have used, but that this is just a natural thing that happens and everybody goes through it and it's not a thing. It's just the brain. Then out of nowhere, this man, Dr. Eben Alexander, actually contracted a very rare, bizarre disease. I think it actually came from Africa, and I cannot remember how he even came into contact with it. It was something really bizarre and random. So he ended up in a coma for about a week. And in the book, it's really fascinating. Every other chapter is him telling what's happening to him or what he's aware of, and then what's going on in the hospital. So one chapter is about, this is what the doctors are doing, this is what families doing on the physical realm. And then the next chapter is, this is all the craziness that is happening to me. And he actually came out the other side of his experience, realizing that his patients were having profound, beautiful experiences like his, and that there was something exceptional and amazing about them that was well beyond what Western science was accustomed to, or at least what they were willing to acknowledge. He actually, at the end of the book, he says he ended up going to work on placebo effect, which is this idea that the body mind can heal itself, that's how our bodies are made, to heal ourselves. And so that's his focus now, but it is an absolutely fascinating read. He starts out by talking about how the first part, he felt like he was like climbing up out of this dirt. He was going up just through dirt. And he finally emerged, maybe, I don't remember, it was like a day or two later. He felt like 3 days he'd been in there. And he finally came out, and I don't remember all the details, but he ended up in this place, and he was like flying over and just watching all these people. And it wasn't Earth, it was somewhere different. And I don't know that he would even say, oh, this is heaven. It was just, the title of the book is Proof of Heaven. And it's more like just to say, hey, there's something else. I'm a neurosurgeon. I do surgery on people's brains all the time. And then this happened to me. And I'm telling you from personal experience and all that I have gathered from all my patients, something else is happening. This is more than just the brain doing its thing when we're about to die. I thought it was an absolutely fascinating story just to read about what happened to him. And interestingly, he grew up Episcopalian, never considered himself a Christian, periodically went to church. And while he had his experience, there was never talk of like Jesus or God. It wasn't anything like that. It was just feeling and experience and profound, and even seeing people that he didn't know who they were, but there was something familiar. And then later, after he comes back from his coma, he's engaging in life again, and he visits his mom's house or some family member's house, and he sees this photo of this woman. It's like, who is that? And she was like a dead ancestor, dead relative. He said, I this is the woman I saw. I interacted with her. So it absolutely upended his Western scientific paradigm and opened up a completely different way of looking at things. And it's a profound and beautiful story. I highly recommend it.
You know, there are so many with this same type of story. Like, for instance, Brian Weiss, Dr. Brian Weiss, are you familiar? Many
I know that
Masters,
name.
Many Lives.
Yeah, I know that name. Yes. Many
Yeah.
Masters, Many Lives. That's his book. I have never read it.
It's a long time ago that I read it. He lives in I think in Florida somewhere. And there is a book called The Further Education of Oversoul 7.
Oversoul 7, is that what you said? Okay.
Yes. If you want to have a fun afterlife book, but so profound, that's it. The first few pages are a little bit dull, but when you're in it, and you're in it forever. It's a trilogy, and Oversoul 7 trilogy. Look it up. They've just started printing it again, I think. I think Jane Roberts, somebody like this, wrote this. It's amazing and fun. I mean, it's big, it's thick, I had another, what is very important also to share. I read, just for myself, because I thought I had to, it's important. I read A Course in Miracles, which is the most boring, long-winded book without any content, It's just words. And I tell you, I read it twice because I thought maybe I'm just not getting it. you know. And but the only thing I had to get, I found one sentence which stuck in my head.
Okay.
Be aware of feeling unfairly treated.
Hmm.
That
Okay.
told me that I am a victim every time I point out at somebody who did something to me.
Got it.
So that's what I got out of it. So that stopped for me to be victimized again and again and again. That was this one sentence out of this big book. Have you read it?
I've never read it. A very wise friend who has spent a couple of decades developing herself and working through her own stuff. She's told me, actually, she said, don't mess with Course in Miracles, but I think this is the book she's talking about. She said there's a workbook that goes with it. She said that's actually, there's some good stuff in there. So I've considered like checking it out. I just have a long list of reads, as you can see behind me.
Personally, it is probably a personality thing. I never liked companion books or guidebooks because I like to figure stuff out for myself. I don't want other people telling me which way to look. I need to, because it's not necessarily the right way for me.
Right.
You know.
Right.
So I'm very stubborn and accepting when people give us workbooks for something. You know, it's I don't do that.
One other thing I wanted to give clarity to that I said near the beginning of our conversation that I realized can be really taken poorly. I said that I thought your out-of-body experience was triggered through surgery, and you said no, suicide, and I said, oh, even better. I'm obviously not like elevating suicide as a good and beautiful thing necessarily, but what I think I was getting at was that this was about your trauma in general that this was your fifth attempt. And it's because of all the trauma and the background that you had. You told me in your story, just to give people some context, if you're okay with it, that your mother was in the SS youth group. Is that accurate?
Yeah.
And that really shaped her parenting. Yeah. So you went through some tremendous, intense psychological and physical abuse.
The way I see my mother is today. She was very insecure. She had a lot of emotional trauma herself, a lot of self-hate, and she looked in me to find in me what she wanted for herself. And I was a tomboy and not a knitting and crocheting person, you know, and that was a big disappointment for her. So she made very clear that I was a disappointment all around, you know. Mm-hmm. So I don't know, kids like to have the love of their parents no matter how they behave. And I did not really feel that from my mother. From my father, yes, but not from her. Yeah. You know? And today I can look at it when people say, yeah, my mother didn't love me or didn't breastfeed me or whatever, or she gave me up, you know. I don't think that anyone outside myself can say anything what it would feel like or understand what it feel like really, because it is not the same for another person. When somebody said, yeah, I get you, you know, I had the same experience. No, you don't. There is no experience alike. At one time I did a past life regression, and which was interesting. This one, actually, the last one was not too long ago. I found myself to be a soldier in the army, and in a Nazi army, Hitler's army. I only passed 4 years before I was reborn. I only had 4 years in
Yeah.
between, which in Cosmos is you go up.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
so the thing was, I was a soldier, but I was planning with, and you can actually research that afterwards. You know, I could just not, I didn't know my name because there were 40 other who did that, planning to kill Hitler.
You're saying that in your past life regression, you were a soldier and you were a Nazi,
Yeah,
but you were
I was very
in a
young.
group,
I
you
was
were
very
in a
young.
group who was going to take out Adolf Hitler.
Yes, yes. And the plot came out and we all got shot.
Oh, and then 4 years later, you were born.
For Earth years later, human years
Right,
later,
right.
yeah, which again in Cosmos is a ridiculous moment, and that's
Yeah.
it, you know. And yeah, that was interesting to find out. I have been also a soldier before. I was a soldier a lot, and I have done what was done on me. I have raped women, you know. I have done all this. I have just done despicable things. And I learned that we all do this, and they're all despicable because we label them this way. This is how we are in human life, or our order is, you know, and our balance is. But in Cosmos, it's just an experience, and that's it, you know. And how you process the experiences, that's how you will live not only your life, but even be after in the afterlife.
Yeah.
You know, so that's when I learned that, that's why I have now my experience. I fulfilled my contract. I'm very positive, certain I fulfilled my contract. I'm here now just for me to enjoy myself. I feel like I'm on vacation. You know?
So until you're 96, right?
Yeah.
Okay, that's a great vacation.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah. So Brig, before we wrap up this conversation, do you have anything else, any other experiences that you would like to share with the public?
You know, I had COVID in January. I had COVID very hard, and which is good because my immune system is now much better.
Oh, wow. Your immune system improved after COVID?
Pardon me?
Your immune system improved after COVID?
Of course, that's the reason why you get sick, you know.
Yeah.
Thing. However, during COVID, I was 10 days, I had high fever and was mostly fantasizing or not quite there. But I had a visit, and the most profound visit was the deceased son of a dear friend of mine.
This is while you're 10 days of super high fever, right? Okay, yeah. That's important. Okay, continue, please.
It started actually when I was just saying, oh my gosh, I can't breathe anymore, you know. And all of a sudden I heard a voice, just breathe, just do it, you know, just breathe. And just like an order almost, but very nice order. And I first didn't know where it came from, but I saw his face very clearly. Of course, not outside, it obviously was inside my mind, you know, very clearly. And I identified him as either the son of the deceased son of a dear friend of mine who lives now in Boise, Idaho. And he passed very young. He had, I think he OD'd. Okay. And he had drug problems and all this. I don't want to go into details because it's not my story. However, what is my story is that he was with me for days during this time, and for days, and he just with me. I felt him holding my hand. I felt him, his hand on my forehead. I felt his hand on my forehead.
Yeah,
I absolutely felt like a physical hand on my forehead, you know, and it kept me calm all the time. I was really calm because not many, I mean, my son and my daughter-in-law who live next door, they didn't really know what to do with me. I wouldn't go to the hospital. That would be a death sentence. and I didn't trust any doctors, sadly, so I trusted myself. And the thing is that Ivor went to his mother in his dreams. She first of all, she knew I didn't write anymore. Something is wrong, And after 5 days or so, she just sent me antibiotics and vitamins and all this because Ivor told her to.
Oh, wow. Wow.
He
Neat.
told her to, and this you can verify with her. She is that was an amazing. I still get goosebumps all over thinking about it. How the spirit has helped me through COVID.
Mm-hmm.
And it took me really over 6 weeks afterwards to recover fully.
I have my husband and I have friends in Nashville who they sent their son to a Waldorf school in Nashville, a private Waldorf school. And they were told one time their son got very, very ill and he was out of school for a while. And the school faculty, teachers, whatever, administration said, pay attention to see after he's sick. They said, because we've noticed that when kids come in and they've been really sick, after they've gone through that, there's a jump in their intellect. Like it's going through the experience, and I don't know if it's clearing things out or what, but the kids would experience a jump in intelligence, and it was noticeable in the classroom. And I don't know how often that includes fever or not, but I do know I almost died a few years ago. I had something, and then it turned into pneumonia, severe double pneumonia, and it was quite an ordeal. It took me about 4 months to stop feeling like death, and then a full year before I started to kind of get back to normal. It was awful. Nevertheless, during that time, I didn't experience an intellectual jump that I'm aware of, but a profound, for lack of a better word, spiritual development came from that. Just me, who I am, and where I was at the time. It was a life-changing experience. And I had fever as well. It was terrible. It was awful. But anyway, I know that fever can induce, hallucinations or a variety of experiences. So that you were in high fever for 10 days straight and had this experience, I don't see that as weird or wrong or anything. I see that as, yeah, this is what happens. This is a regular thing that happens, especially in a situation where you've got high fever that lasts for so long.
Yeah, but we have to be careful with one thing. A lot of people believe that it will happen to them. It's the same like when you drink ayahuasca. When you drink ayahuasca, people go there because they want to experience an awakening. Unless they're ready for it, it's the time.
Yeah, you have to be ready. You have to be ready.
And I felt, for instance, when I was much younger, I felt always like I don't deserve those experiences other people have. I felt not deserving because they told me about, and now I'm the one telling them. And my cousin, for instance, said, why don't I get those dreams? And the thing is, we all get them, but our window is not always open, and we are not always remember it when we wake up, but we all have those dreams. We all have the support. I know this for a fact that every single person, no matter in what situation, has that support, you
Right.
know, and is the awareness just comes in different extensions at different stages for people.
Do you have any interest in sharing some of your ayahuasca experience here as well?
Sure.
Okay,
Sure.
please do.
I said that when I was in such emotional pain that I was even wanting to do electroshock therapy, which I know that I could not choose the memories which would be gone, and it's an awful thing to do to the mind. And why I was searching for information on this, more information, and was researching, ayahuasca came into my vision over and over again. And I didn't know what it was, but the name was kind of weird and nice. And I don't know, I felt drawn to it, you know. So in the end, I started reading.
Well, just pause for a moment then. It occurs to me you didn't know what it was then, and maybe people listening now might not know what it is. So just for a little context, this is ayahuasca is a plant based, it comes from South America, and it is used by shamans in South America regularly to help people with their physical, psychological ailments that they're dealing with. And it creates, you can have really intense experiences from it. It does involve purging for a lot of people. Some people throw up a lot, some people have diarrhea, and it's just literally getting rid of junk in your body so that you can see more clearly. So I am really eager to hear your ayahuasca experience.
Yeah, it's as a plant medicine, it is put together with a plant called chakura, and which is without the chakura, ayahuasca would not be able to give you that kind of experience, you know. And it's a tea, and it tastes awful. And if people think it's kind of a recreational thing, it's like I would say it's like chemotherapy for the mind.
Yeah, there you go. I don't, yeah, that's
awful,
that. I haven't
awful.
used it, but I've heard so many stories. So yeah, your analogy is perfect.
It takes a lot of guts. It has been only, let's see, I would say 4, 5, 6 years ago, the last time I was in Peru. That was my second time. The first time I went for 12 days and I had 6 ceremonies. People sit in a maloca, that is the building where the ceremonies are held, with a shaman and a healer if they have. Those are 2 different people. And you drink this brew, you sit there with more people in a circle, and you drink this brew, and it induces nausea so badly. And nausea to me, it's like experience along death. It's really awful. I did not enjoy this at all. But I learned with every experience is to better control my body, that I don't have to be nauseous and just breathe into it. And at my 5th ceremony, I had an amazing experience, which I actually understood only years afterwards, the experience, which is really strange. But I was just laying there, and the nausea has passed, and all of a sudden I felt vines, the ayahuasca vines, growing out of my arms, out of my chest, leaves come all over. I was totally the vine, becoming the vine. And all of a sudden, the people in front of me looked like humongous ants and beetles. They were all very friendly. They were not frightening at all. It was really kind of amazing. And they all came around me, around the ayahuasca. I did not realize that. I was only thinking of me and not as me as the vine, you know. And I seen different creatures coming from the jungle, out of the jungle, and all humongous with huge eyes, those round big eyes, you know, and like you see in aliens a lot of times.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
which I
Interesting.
figured out that's what it was when I actually during my fever. That's where I learned it, what it was.
You understood your ayahuasca experience from several years ago, back in January during COVID. Okay.
Is that something or what? I mean,
Yeah,
they can
well,
see that not everything is just blown right open.
right, right,
There are so many details in everything, and they come after the fact after a while. So
right.
I after ayahuasca, the first ayahuasca experience, I went again when I was diagnosed with so multiple things, including multiple sclerosis, which wasn't true. Then finally they said it's fibromyalgia, which nothing of that was the truth. And then they gave me some pills, which I usually did not take any medication, but I agreed to this because they said, well, it's just like, think your arm is broken, you put a cast on, like this. And I let them talk me into it, but only for 3 weeks. And the side effects were just making me mad. And so I weaned myself off totally and was in a wheelchair. And by that time, and couldn't walk, So I went in a wheelchair to Peru again.
Oh, wow.
To a different shaman, to a different area, to experience more ayahuasca. And I arrived at the airport. They put me in a wheelchair, drove me towards where the taxis were. I got out of my wheelchair and walked to the taxi, and I felt fine.
When you got there, or after your ayahuasca journey?
I felt fine. I still went through the whole experience, of course, and a lot more this time. I was very educated on it, and so I knew how to prepare myself and everything. So it went very smooth. I had another 6, and the shaman, and then I went to the shaman and said, I don't need any more. And he looked at me very long and said, you're right, you don't need any more.
Good.
And
Yeah,
that was it.
I know.
I did not get a profound awakening like other people claim, or I did not get a lot of hallucinations like other people, that you can see everybody is different. A lot of people feel disappointed when they don't get this wonderful experience, and it's all shitty and,
Yeah.
urging. And so, but it's a mindset. It's for everything what you do. You have to set your mind to experience something in the right direction. If you do it without a mindset and just with a dream, I want,
Mm-hmm.
you won't get.
Right. Intention matters. It
Intention,
matters.
everything. I'm a Reiki master. I know when you heal without intention, it doesn't do anything.
Right. And this also has a lot to do with, establishing. So the limbic brain, which includes a lot of the midbrain, the limbic brain needs it. That's where our behavior is largely governed. The limbic brain needs ceremony for true behavioral change to be effective. It's like a switch that flips. So when you are in a situation for like what you're explaining, where you went to South America, you visited with a Peruvian shaman or shamans and healers, and they are the ones who administered this.
Intention does matter. Intention is everything. Without the right intention, you cannot set your mind right, and you cannot experience what you really want to experience. But in order to do all this, you have to be aware of the fact that intentions are important, and that you set your intentions, nobody else. No book sets your intentions, no group, no doctor, no shaman, no medicine. You alone. You alone. It's the same, like where focus goes, energy flows. It's
Mm-hmm.
For me a mantra. The same, like, I'm the only one thinking my thoughts. That is always making me clear that I cannot judge other people by my thoughts.
Right.
you know, but it's an awareness. And when you don't have that awareness, then all this does not make sense.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Speaking from experience, I can say that is absolutely true. There were things that I experienced before that I had zero context for. And it's not until I'm 46, and it's not until like 45, 46 years old, that I'm like, oh, now I see. But in regards to setting your intention and the changes that happen in the brain when we do go through ceremony, yeah, especially, this, your ceremony was, it was beautiful in that you left, like you did an actual rite of passage. You left your home for a while, you went down to South America, you went through this, and when you came back, you were different.
Only for a short time, because I went into the same situation I was in before.
You went right back to what you were doing, you mean?
Yes.
So no change took place.
That's
not permanently.
Sick again, and the mind made me sick because I don't have fibromyalgia or anything. We can put names on all these things, but in the end, it's a mindset.
Right. I absolutely agree. But I can only say that, I must confess, it's taken me this long to grasp, accept, and believe that. That wasn't how I was before.
This long? What do you mean by this long?
It took me, like I said, I'm 46, and it's taken me my whole life to just kind of finally get to that kind of understanding.
Many lives.
Sure. But in this one, I don't know about before, but in this one, it's taken me at least 46 years. So that's what I know.
That's fantastic. That's really young, and you have a lot of opportunities to explore more and more, because it changes every single day. You got to have an open mind to embrace the diversity around you and the changes around you with gratitude. And that's another thing which I found extremely important in life and which helped me a lot, is gratitude. I learned that the foundation of happiness is not my health, it's not money, it's not my house, not my dog, it's gratitude. If I can't be grateful for absolutely everything, how can I be happy?
Right.
So that is very, to me, was a very profound experience to understand. And then I practice gratitude, and I practice gratitude every day. And this is my lifestyle, becomes my lifestyle. So with this lifestyle, raising myself for the rest of my life, my earth life now, I just practice whatever is good for me. I don't have any negativity coming to me. And it just stops there, and I look at it and say, it's not mine. That's gone, Yeah. And so I don't have to engage in this. And I said that before to you, and I can't stress that enough, is I live a really healthy diet. And my diet is not only what I eat, it is what I watch, the people I have around me, this way I set my mind. Everything is part of the diet, of a healthy diet. If I watch junk on TV, it'll come into my mind. It's conditioning my mind, whether I want to or not. That's how the mind is constructed. So I condition my mind with good stuff constantly.
Got it. That's beautiful. Well, Brig, you have had some really incredible experiences, certainly extraordinary. They're beautiful to hear about. I'm really grateful that you were willing to share this with me and with anyone who's willing to listen. Again, the experiences that you've described, I've read about these and heard about these kinds of experiences from many other people around the world as well. They are far more normal than we want to give credit to them for. So this is part of this big reason why I'm doing this. So thank you for helping to normalize these experiences and for engaging with me in this way. And maybe we'll come back again sometime for follow up on your experiences.
That would be great. It was an absolutely pleasure. I enjoyed my time with you. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.